Hello everyone, it's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Moriah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies. Hello, Obiya Julu in the building.
Morning,
I love what you're wearing today.
Thank you so much.
How you doing?
Beautiful. I'm doing amazing. I was
very,
yeah, not serious. I was very busy yesterday. I had to get models for a photo shoot. You know, I have a digital store. It's not like I have a store where I, showcase. So I have to constantly take pictures and so that we can display the product for people to start ordering. Then when I was done with that, I had to go to my table. My training for how to start a business with zero cash is this Saturday. So I had to tidy up my slides and everything that I needed. And then Miriam sent me a message this morning that a fan from China would love to make a shout out. Yes, shout out. Yes, Dr. Bukola Adekalu. Her birthday is today. Happy birthday. Thanks for being a fan all the way from China. We love you too, and may God continue to bless you.
Man.
Okay, there's a second one for September 9.
Okay.
And I'm looking for it already. The Adekalu sent theirs, but I can't find the other one.
Oh.
Hey. It's your birthday shout out.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
now you've opened the floodgates. More people will start sending.
For blessing.
See, you people should feel free to send it.
Yes, so
your view give back to our fans.
Yes, I agree.
This we can do. You deserve it for watching. Especially those people abroad who watch religiously.
Yes.
So you deserve it. Yes. They do. They watch religiously. I wish I could find.
How are you doing, Takwe?
I'm
Anything
good.
happening?
Plenty things happening. Plenty things happening. We give glory to God. So yesterday I tasted my chicken for the first time. So and my friend was like, something you read. You carried it when it was a baby. You saw it as it was growing. Why would you eat it? Sorry. The reason the goal of the chicken is to grow up and end up in our bellies to nourish our body. So it would be wrong for me not to eat the chicken. And then I'm really grateful to God for everybody that has been signing up for the cashew investment. And I realized that, Moriah, there's a burden on all of us as Nigerians, and it's a huge burden. Every scammer has put the burden on us as Nigerians to prove that we're not scammers. So I spent hours on the phone trying to convince people, this is the deed, this is the documentation, and the reason is they are Nigerians. They're telling me, Nigerians, there's just so much scam, people are lying, and I could, we've said it a lot of times here that those 419, all of that what they're doing is bad, it paints us bad, but even to Nigerians, it paints us bad. So a legitimate business has a burden of proof that you are legitimate.
Do you know sometimes my customers will have to call me face-to-face, video call, just to be sure that it's you. Because it's the bad name that we have already.
Well, it's good. I mean, I'm happy that things are moving forward. Listen, the most important thing is that the next 20 years, we can look back and say, yes, we did the work.
Yeah.
We did the grind.
Nigeria
and
would be
then
great.
we're successful. No, I mean, individually.
Yes.
So the work you're putting in right now, we know that in 5 years, we'll see it and we'll now be amongst the, hey.
We saw the process.
You were there. So congratulations, well done to the work that's been done. I
Thank
pray
you.
that everything goes well.
Amen.
Okay, let's go on a break. It's still Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about. We're talking agriculture, your constituency, you and Nima's constituency. We're focusing on agriculture.
I'll support them today.
And issues of FRS. That will be our focus. But first, let's go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, let's start with The Nation. Buhari orders quick release of 2.3 trillion naira stimulus fund. Ministers move to end doctor strike. Picture here of a patient being evacuated by a relative from Lagos State University Teaching Hospital in Ikeja following the strike, which entered second day. Petrol price protest in Oyo, Lagos, Ogun, Osun, others. Of our robbery, I fled without my gun, says policeman. And law school bars parents from call to bar. Okay, let's take a few stories there.
So the Minister for Labour was talking yesterday that, they're doing already in talks with the NARD, the National Association of Resident Doctors, Johesu, NMA, to see how to try to solve the issues that they have. That that they out of the 8 issues that they've highlighted, that they've met all of them. 2 are in court, and so they want them to run their judicial cause. That a 9.3 billion insurance cover is for all federal government health workers. It's already there. It's just for the doctors to find their ways to access all those insurance that they put in place for them. He was talking lightly, but there's a picture there on the front page of The Nation, which is why I wanted to take it to The Nation, of how people started evacuating their loved ones from the government hospitals because of this strike.
Right.
So we should never ever have to get there. If you've had to lose a loved one, or had to evacuate a loved one because of any of this strike, you will understand how important it is.
Someone sent a message that Bagada Hospital still attended to their emergency yesterday, and she was like, I should please shout out to them that Bagada Hospital was effective even though they were on strike. So Bagada, thank you.
Well done.
Let's take the second, the protest.
Yes, so there were protests in Lagos, Oyo, Osun, and Ondo states yesterday on the increase of our fuel pump price, the electricity tariff, and cable network. So the protest was led by students of the higher institution along with CSOs, civil societies, and they were complaining that this is not the right time for us to have a lot of increments. We're still, phasing out of COVID-19. A lot of people have lost their jobs. They do not have money. That it seems like the government is insensitive to the plight of Nigerians, and they are just out on the streets with their placards to show solidarity and to object to.
Moving on now to Daily Sun very quickly. Protests against electricity tariff, fuel price hike. We talked about that. Ohanes Ndigbo, elders, youths rise against water resources bill. Alleged money laundering, EFCC rearranged the Malabo Oil Company and 7 others on fresh charges. What I told Trump about Christian massacre allegations, says Buhari. Edo Ondo Guba INEC to decide on card reader controversial matters tomorrow. Okay, let's talk about the Malibu. Who has that story?
Yes, the oil magnate Aliyu Abubakar and the Malabo Oil and Gas Company and about 7 other companies were arraigned on 67-count charge bordering around money laundering and a lot of the fraud that happened with the Malabo Oil deal. So basically what the paper was saying is that they have been arraigned, they will have a trial, but I would love that we do things speedily around this Malabo Oil deal.
Our president was speaking yesterday, and he was reflecting to when he saw the president of President Trump, I think back in 2018, the conversation they had concerning the massacre of Christians. Because according to him, Trump actually directly asked him, why are you killing Christians? And he told them that the issue has nothing to do with ethnicity or religion. It's more of a cultural misunderstanding between those who are rearing the cattle and those who have the stagnant farms. And that was where the issues have been. And
you also mentioned it had been ongoing before, predates him, his birth, and even everything has been happening.
Ohaneze, quickly?
Yes, and then Ohaneze
Ndigbo.
Sorry, please pronounce it well.
Has rejected the water resources bill, saying that it will give more power to the federal government instead of taking away powers. Right now, we're talking about restructuring. They are still talking and asking that it's better if the federating units have more powers to themselves. But with this water resources bill, powers will just be invested more in the federal government. And it seems like a lot of other people have more interest in this bill, so they are rejecting it. It should not be passed, and they'll fight it.
Moving on now to Daily Trust. FG hands off fuel price fixing. Ipman welcomes deregulation. Young farmers knock FG over maize imports waiver. Alleged killings of Christians, what I told Trump. Kano Assembly makes Emir Bayero permanent council chairman. Okay, which story are we taking?
Young farmers.
Okay, yes, young farmers. Go ahead.
Farmers. So the Young Farmers, it's an association. They are under the network, Nigerian Young Farmers Network. They have condemned the federal government's move to permit a few people. Actually, they said 4 firms have been granted access to import 262 tons of maize. And they said these companies are already filling the Form M. Now, these young farmers have said that they have over 1 million young people that have invested in maize farming, and that if the funds that will be given to these only 4 companies were given to them as a group of 1 million young people that are in farming, they will be able to meet the demand locally of rice farming, that they have 10 million young farmers that are willing to produce nationwide. We shouldn't enrich just 4 companies, and we should share the resources for internal production. Right. 100%
I agree.
Okay.
Major headline?
Major headline, go ahead, please.
So the federal government has finally announced through the PPPR that they have given a full deregulation to the oil sector, meaning that the marketers now will be the ones to fix their pump prices. So a lot of stakeholders are speaking up about it. Some are saying that it's going to make things very expensive, and others are saying, but at the long run, because a lot of people are selling, it's going to, market forces will now determine the prices. But other people are saying that market forces can only determine the prices if we now have our refinery and we're not just importing into the country. So it's just
furthermore, PPRA is also saying that it's not so much of the fact that the drop in crude prices that caused this increase. That there are other factors. So
like forex.
Forex, issues of transportation. So these are things that are determined by market forces, just like you said.
So market forces. This morning I saw a filling station, a new one on the Bagada Expressway, and the price was 157 naira per litre. I just said,
you see?
So market forces. So see, the competition begins because now as a marketer, if you now
you source better.
You source better. You now look for someone that's selling it cheapest.
Cheaper.
Yeah, I'll find someone selling cheaper.
Before we'll drive around. Moving on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Petrol electricity pricing, we talked about that. Let's find another story. Lagos approves 33% increment for state pensioners. Whoop, whoop. Kebbi flood threatens 60% domestic rice production. That's Nima's constituency. Christians massacre allegation, what I told Trump. Fear over Edo and Ondo polls. Matters of urgent public attention. CBN replies NESG. And why we are boycotting peace summit, Southern Kaduna Christian leaders. Okay, which story are we taking here?
Lagos State has increased by 33% the pension. So all pensioners that, and it's backdated to January 2020. So good news for pensioners. The payment will start this September, and all of them will now have like a 33%. This is balance of the 25% allowance for officers between grades 7 and above. So I think that they're trying to regularize the system, but it's a good time. This is good news. We need more things like this.
Kebbi State quickly. Kebbi State, very quickly.
Yes, I took the right story. So members of the Kebbi State caucus in the House of Reps on Tuesday, they were expressing concern over the flood that took away about 60% of the rice production in the state. And they are asking for help from the federal government to support, because right now, if nothing is done, the farmers will not be able to aside from that, they won't even be able to farm for the dry season, because they do it seasonally. And so they won't have it. If there's no support given to them, we may likely have run into food scarcity. So they are appealing for support.
Okay, we'll talk more about this in a moment, but let's take a final paper about The Guardian. Niger imports fuel to Nigeria as Egypt, Algeria build 13 refineries. I think that's the story we want to take there. Go ahead.
So this is about deliberate governance, leadership. Niger that started, refining oil, producing oil in 2011, have started exporting petroleum products, refined products to us. As
have been in the matter for how many years?
No, I just have to take it. No, we need to take our subsidy, but make on ourselves show us the refineries that you put.
That is all we can do.
Alternatively, was the refineries that you put.
That is all we can do.
Alternatively,
I spoke to my uncle this morning.
Your uncle
Dangote said that I shouldn't worry. That's the refineries are very, very close. We'll start. That's all we can take on Front Page Review. Today we're discussing two critical issues. Farming in Nigeria, the entire value chain, and also another issue that concerns the FRSC getting your licensing. How do you ensure that we reduce the traffic congestion in Nigeria? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So the coronavirus pandemic has taken a heavy toll on the country's economy, with farmers and flood processors taking some of the heaviest losses and hits. Our guests will be discussing the challenges farmers are facing, especially in Nigeria, from this year's rain scarcity, especially in the West, to production, to chain distribution, to storage, preservatives, transportation, the whole works. Joining us is a farmer himself, agricultural information broker, coach and consultant, Africanfarmer Mogaji. Good morning, are you there?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good to have you. So this morning, we're having about 3 guests on this because you're a farmer, Tokwa is a farmer, and Nima is into that value change of distribution of rice. So we want to discuss the issue we're having with farming. Many farmers have complained concerning the maize right now. It's very difficult. People are importing maize when we could actually grow it in Nigeria. We're having issues with rice, especially because of the flooding. Hectares and hectares have been flooded. In a nutshell, could you tell us highlight some of the challenges your industry is having at the moment?
Well, there's an enormous challenges happening in the sector. One, a major thing is, I would say, coordination. Coordination is big because the farmers themselves are not coordinated. All the things that the farmers are experiencing now have been predicted by Lament, which is a government agency. So we have government, we have farmers. Farmers are not coordinated. There's no planning, so we're not having seeds. Number one is there are no good seeds, and most of the seed companies import bulk of
the seeds.
The vegetables. I stand to be corrected. Hausa tomatoes. It's not Hausa tomato. It's from Italy. It's from Netherlands. It's from California.
Wow.
You know, so we don't have good. And I start to be corrected. We don't have these seed companies producing. They are packaging. They import and packaging. So we don't have good seeds. We don't have the seed companies that can produce enough of what we want to produce. You know, so seed is crucial. The support system around soil health, you know, because the livestock farmer depends on crops, which is soya and maize. But most of the time, you can't test. When we are sick, we go to the doctors or go to the pharmacy. When the soil is sick, we don't have adequate laboratories or mobile testing equipment, which is an opportunity for the private sector to leverage. But if you take these 2 fundamentals and you're able to solve it, fine. Then distribution, you know, we've been, and I say we, as a farmer also, we've been very myopic with depending on people coming to the farm to buy, as against taking products from commodities to brands. You know, so waiting, this what you call sit down look. You know, they come to you. So COVID really disrupted that, and we're still trying to get that.
Okay.
Another fundamental.
Let's quickly talk about you, because you went straight to the roots. You started with seeds. So let's use the tomatoes example that you have. Yes, some companies will still be buying outside the country, you know, seeds for farming here. But we have a crude method of extracting seeds from tomatoes, particularly here. What exactly is government doing? Maybe from your experience, you've seen the government doing about that particular style of extracting tomato seeds that we do here, up north.
I can tell you, because I've farmed in Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna. I've done extensive farming in the north and all the southwest and some in the east. And I can tell you that I would say government needs to improve in seed. We've not paid attention to seed technology. And so I can say that on a scale of 1 to 10, it will be a 2. Because without us owning those seeds, we can't get anything good. And so the farmers, the rural farmers, when they extract the seeds, a challenge is when you use it after like 5 years, you need to renew. But instead of them renewing, buying other ones, they keep using and using. So I can tell you that we need to invest heavily. And that's where I think CBN should be putting the money.
Exactly.
And you know, reduce the palliatives. Because they will keep coming for palliatives. But if the CBN and government agencies invest in the seed companies as a PPP concern, then we will be sustainable.
Right.
If we are growing rice, we are growing tomatoes, and we still depend a lot, we don't control that value chain, it's a huge disaster waiting to happen.
Okay.
Okay, so concerning, just to conclude seed, we have many agric universities. We have many agric professors. I believe that the job should be between the academia and the technology for them to produce. No, the job should be for academia to produce the technology and make the noise for government to fund that technology. But as long as we're still importing, there's a huge problem. I want you to talk about the maize crisis. I know that you have a maize investment. I've seen you go around with maize. I've tried doing maize and I realized that the cost of buying a treated seed is really high as compared to just growing. Also, the cost of irrigation is very high. So currently we have a maize crisis. We don't have enough maize. Poultry farmers are complaining. And there is now a concession given to 4 companies to bring in metric tons of maize. The young farmers, agri people are saying that this is not right. We need the funds. Don't empower 4 people. What do you think is the problem and what is the solution you prefer?
Now, I've been in maize production consistently, in and out of season, for about 21 years now, commercially. And so my perspective is a little different. First and foremost, when we raise alarm about issues and government respond, we need to commend them. I would start by commending government for allowing these 4 companies to bring in the seeds. No. Because many farmers and their families, either the farmers commit suicide or they have health issues if they don't bring in the seeds. So this corn. However, that is not the way to go, ideally. But let me tell you this. Because we don't have seeds, we don't have control. And so over the years, and I would ask government to get in touch with IITA. IITA has been in Nigeria for 50 years, and yet we cannot improve the yield of our seeds. So, so you will get 2 tons, 1.5, 3 tons, some will tell you 4 tons. And when you bring a seed from Thailand and from Brazil and the US, you get a minimum of 10, even from Zimbabwe, you get 10 tons. So IITA and other institutions, research institutions, need to improve more on the yield as against nutrition. So we need, and I can tell you, there are different varieties lying down on the shelves of different institutions, IR&T. Many of my classmates are in there. So we need government to come in, but most importantly, not government. We need private sector to go into this research institute and get these things and commercialize. So it's a win-win thing. Okay. But I can tell you, we can be made sufficient, but private sector and government, we're not, working together. They can.
Right. Okay.
So for me, the agricultural problem is in a broad spectrum, and I am particularly worried about the fact that we no longer have organic food. So most of the things we eat are not organic, and it translates into health issues. Those days they will tell you to go to the farm and pluck ugu and pluck bitter leaf. They are no longer organic. So what is the plan? Or what do you think farmers can start doing to ensure that we do not just get those mechanized fertilizers, but we can still walk into getting the natural fertilizer so we can have natural food? So you have an option of if you want the mechanized food or the natural food for consumers. I'm a consumer, I'm not a farmer.
Okay, so my perspective is mostly very controversial, but that's the reality. Ideal and reality are 2 different things. With our population, organic may not be sustainable based on the resources and infrastructure that we have. Okay. But when we say conventional is the food they put fertilizer, they put insecticide, they put herbicides at the right quantity, such that by the time the consumer is buying, there's no residual effect. That is what we should be talking about. However, GMO and conventional is what is making organic premium and sellable. So, but I can tell you, mangoes, pawpaws, pineapples, all those basic fruits are still organic. So we no longer can say organic for now. We can say 10 years, 20 years, let's move our organic to like 15, 20, 30%, but our population is huge. The dollar is going higher, so we are still importing a lot. So we don't have the right mix. Okay. But I can tell you that organic, the way people talk about we want to do organic, we may not be able to do it at that scale. We should be focusing on conventional. Right. The rainfall that was held back for like 2 months in Southwest It's heavy in the north now, and Lament has predicted that there's going to be seizure of rain. If we don't have rain for the 60 to 80 days we had in the south, we are in a deep challenge in the country.
Right.
So we need to be looking at, because our silos, our silos are practically not adequately filled.
Right.
I stand to be corrected. I'm speaking
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, we still have our guests on this matter. And one of the things you said, sir, that worries me is the fact that there's so many gaps in the entire value chain that we can actually fill. And it's as though Nigerians are not aware, because there are Nigerians in the diaspora, there are Nigerians who have some change and I would like to invest in farming. But when they think farming, they're thinking, let me just go to the farm and buy a farm and just get people to start cultivating. But there's so many things. You talked about the health of the land. You talked about the seeds. These are parts of things that people can actually invest. So is there a way that we can itemize and make it so easy for people to invest and help in this entire farming structure?
Yes, we can. But the thing is that if you don't understand the sector and how it plays, you would use the wrong syllabus. I'm sure if they ask any of you there now to come and write WAEC, you're not likely to do well. Not that you don't know it, but you are not going to write it. You're going to write stories. So that's what's happening. Most of the initiatives and incentives is not designed to keep the young graduates, successful. It will keep them poor. Why? Because when they want to grow like 2.5 acres of corn, they need about 8 bags of fertilizers. But what most of the incentives and interventions do is to give them 4. So they will not get the results. They will use the low quality seeds, and so they don't get the results. But I can tell you, this is the best time for us to engage the youth. The media is waiting to get information to show. So we have the pandemic for me has just come to level the ground so that Nigeria, can move forward. If we use the right people within the next 3 to 5 years, I'm very certain that at least we should be 30 to 50% better than where we are.
So
because we have everything ready that we need now.
Right.
So Africanfarmer, I wanted to, take you up on the NIMET prediction. So NIMET predicts rain every period. Even the farmers can determine based on NIMET's prediction that during this period of time, there will be high, difficulty getting, let's use rice for instance, difficulty getting paddy because, there's rain, the farmers cannot do, and all of that. So what exactly can we do to help? Because in some climes where they have the dry season, people now resort to irrigation. Some people, what exactly can NIMET give, or can the body, the Ministry of Agriculture, for instance, give as a solution to preparing for the rain season? Is it just to tell them to leave the farms?
No. I think the ministry needs to do better. National Orientation Agency. You see, the ministry, before 20, 30 years back, I was still very younger then, there was this advocacy. When they are running projects, the budget for advocacy most times is about 20, 30% of even doing the crops or the livestock itself, because people need to be aware. So right now, when NIMET comes up, and we need the interagencies, we need them to work, they're not working together. Because you can't tell me to leave my source of income. To do what? So, government has river basin. I've been a river basin farmer for over 19 years across the nations, across the nation. So what that means is that there is upland, there is lowland. So they can make provision for them at the upland, meaning flood will not get there. The beauty about this flood is that when the floods recede, those lands can be used to plant crops, that the cost of production will be reduced. So instead of just saying leave, they should make provision under the river basins. Excuse me.
Okay, sir, let me quickly take you to poultry. So my friends and I started a poultry in Ubumosho this year, and when we were buying our DO chick, we were buying for 330 naira. That was our first 2,000. Yeah. When we were buying the second one, it was as high as 450. This is the chicken that sells for 850 in the market. How are we expecting a farmer to buy the baby chick day-old
feed
and still make a profit? So where is the regulation with those that are selling, that have the hatcheries? What is there anything the government can do to say this must be the baseline? Is there any insurance from the government to say this is the price regulation? How can we aggregate as farmers to ensure it is profitable for people that are coming into the scene?
I really thank you for this question, because when governments placed the restriction on the border, chicken and rice was one of the major things they wanted to improve. So if they take agriculture as a value chain, the first point of entry is the day-old chicks. So guess what? And during the pandemic, they already have set eggs. There's a certain number of eggs that will come out every day that must go to an incubator. What happened to them during the pandemic? They had to be destroying those eggs. They have commercial bank loans. So when the pandemic was off, to recoup, they had to increase the price. Demand was more than supply. And so that's how they have to get back the money. You know, so when they shut down the borders last year, investments and palliatives ought to have gone into livestock feed and the day-old chick companies. You know, so when government supports them, government can place a demand on them. But if you don't support them,
you cannot say anything.
And they still import a lot of the things they use, they don't have a choice. The consumers pay for it. And the price of finished chicken is not increasing. The price of eggs is not increasing. So government needs to go and invest money where it will not show, except they do publicity. And because government is not looking at that, and also the private sector, we're also not planning. We're not doing 10 years, 20 years plan. Most of these companies, the environment, the business environment also is limiting them, because when you plan and there's a policy somersault, what do you do?
Right.
You know, so all these things is woven.
Let me put you on hold for a second. I have with us the Commissioner for Agriculture, Lagos State, Honorable Abisola Olusanya. Good morning, madam. Oh, I'm told we lost her because she was actually on the phone. She was interested in this conversation. I wanted to ask her a few questions. Obi actually had a question for our guest.
So I know that storage is one of the problems we have. A lot of our farmers find it very difficult to be able to store properly. There's no enough technology to handle that. Now, what do you advise, aside from government now, private investors? People are looking to invest. They want to put their money somewhere. In terms of storage, what sort of investments would you want for the farmers?
Now, you see, I would say most of the private sector who have the funding to invest in the sustainable value chains that the farmers can do without, they do what I call investment mismatch. So they want to go to Brazil, Italy, Germany, and bring their technology here. Instead of going to China, Malaysia, Thailand, and bring intermediate technology that can be adaptable. So they bring high tech without the technical hands to support. Is expensive. So if the investors really want to come in, the value chain apart from production is where they should come in. And they should come into places where they can get juice solar. Beyond solar, in the north, I can tell you 90%, if not more, of the grains we eat is still stored by the people who have not gone to more than secondary schools. And it's still stored. So if all that goes to waste, if we can learn from them, which is where I see a challenge. We don't want to learn from the people who is third generation. We just want to bring something abroad and adapt. Right. But we need to look at how we can do that together. But that's where the money is.
Thank you very much. Let me take this call from the Commissioner. We have joining us now the Commissioner for Agriculture, Lagos State, Honorable Abisola Olusanya. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good to have you on the show. So,
Thank you.
for those of us living in Lagos State that are interested in the farming, we know fishing, poultry, that's most of the prevalent opportunities here in Lagos. What are you doing to mitigate the effects of the current issues of flood, challenges, and even COVID-19 to help farmers in Lagos State?
So you have to repeat the question because the line is not too clear and I can hardly hear you.
Okay, so what are you doing in your commission to support farmers across board, especially in these difficult times?
Okay, so even though I still didn't get the question properly, but all I could hear was what are we doing for our farmers
Yes, ma'am.
in this time? So I would just assume that that is the question around pandemic. So I believe Lagos, like any other state in Nigeria, has its challenges around food security. Lagos is the smallest state, accommodating at least about 10% of Nigeria's population on less than 1% of land. That already goes to show you how densely populated it is. And in terms of production, we will definitely lag behind because we don't even have the land available for it. Regardless, we still have to feed our people, and that means we have to be dependent on other states. Now, whether that dependency should be a dependency or it should be a collaboration is another thing entirely. Under the administration of Mr. Olusanya, a lot of initiatives have been put to the fore, which we are working on as I speak to you. We just unveiled the 5-year roadmap strategy around agriculture to Mr. Governor himself, which he's very happy about, and we should be unveiling that to the public very soon. And with regards to everything we are doing for our farmers, I believe the challenges especially, they should be general to Nigerian farmers at large, but then in Lagos, I mean, we're talking about infrastructural development. A lot of these semi-urban or peripheral areas around where we do production. I mean, you have poor road networks, you have unavailability of water, no electrification. These are some of the things that are hampering our farmers or our producers, and we are trying to see how to mitigate.
Right.
Honorable Commissioner.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's just do like a progress report from past administration because Lagos has
Sorry, you have to speak a bit louder. I can't hear you well.
Oh,
I'm trying to
okay.
hear what
Just
you're saying.
updates on lake rice.
Let's do update on the attempts at Lagos State getting rice, lake rice, and the Imota rice mill.
Yes. So you want an update on lake rice and Imota rice?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so lake rice is a collaboration between Lagos State and Kebbi towards Kebbi producing the paddy, processing the paddy into the finished rice, which the brand is called lake rice, and then that is transported down to Lagos, where Lagos State takes hold of it and then does the distribution and sales to the public. Now, we are all aware that lake rice has been in existence, I think, since about 2016, 2017.
We have the data.
Yes, update.
And the idea around lake rice was to be able to crash the competitive prices in the market.
But it's no longer.
The idea around lake rice was to be able to crash the competitive prices in the market.
But it's no longer available, ma'am.
Lagosian should be able to afford it. Right now, lake rice is not available, and that also is because Kebbi is also facing problems. I'm sure you played it on your TV station yesterday. There's flood in Kebbi, meaning paddy in Kebbi is going to be a big challenge this year and next year. But it doesn't mean that we are not working towards getting some rice for this year, especially towards the Christmas. There are already plans underway towards that. And then when you move to Imota rice mill, the plan is to have the mill completed by December of this year. Yes, we are having challenges around the installation of our equipment because, I mean, these are Swiss equipment and you need the producers or the manufacturers to also be on ground to ascertain the quality before installation. Installation is ongoing, but it's slow considering that the lockdown has also put to fore the unavailability of some of the staff to help around that.
All right, let me go on a quick break, madam. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we still have with us the African farmer. He's still with us as a coach and consultant. And also we have the Commissioner for Agriculture, still both of them on the phone with us. Busy had a question for the Commissioner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ma. I want to quickly ask, what's the process before you start giving an intervention to farmers? Do you have like a round table with them to find out what exactly it is that they need before deciding on where to invest or what sort of palliative to give to them? Is there like, do you still get experts to really check on what they need and what is required before you attend to them?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much so. I believe at the beginning of this administration, we had our first stakeholders summit where we had invited participants across the various value chains in which Lagos has an edge to discuss the challenges, to discuss the sort of interventions that they will be requiring. And I believe Africanfarmer Mogaji was actually a part of that conversation as well. So the idea was, as opposed to, like the past commissioner would say, predict and provide, the idea is you give us an insight into what it is that you're passing through, and then we can come up with the solutions together towards that. So that is actually how the Ministry of Agriculture in Lagos State runs. Not for us to just give interventions, but for the stakeholders themselves to tell us where they need the interventions, how the interventions should be given.
Was there any intervention given for during the lockdown? Lagos State trashed, a lot of the chickens were sold. Lagos farms had to sell their chicken because the chicken was supposed to provide eggs, and there was a major egg scarcity in Lagos immediately after the lockdown was lifted. Are you aware of that, ma'am?
So there was an egg glut, meaning, yes, the poultry farmers could produce, but then there was no one to offtake the eggs.
Yes.
Now, the truth of the matter is it is not a challenge that is peculiar to Lagos alone. This was a global issue. So to now try to make it seem like, oh, this is peculiar to Lagos and therefore Lagos is like put on that pedestal where it makes it completely different from other states. That is not true. This is a global pandemic. It's not been experienced before. There were food shortages across in different parts of the world, in different parts of the country. There, in some cases, you had excess production, but no one to offtake. In some cases, you had low production, and then there was no food. So I think it's a challenge that we are all rising to meet, and it's not something completely different from what other states had experienced. And truth be told, in terms of interventions from Lagos State and in collaboration with the federal government, we had received some grains, sorghum, which we shared. Over 3,000 metric tons of maize was given, over 900 metric tons of sorghum was given. Majority of this went to our poultry farmers to offer some succor to them based on the loss that they had incurred. And not just poultry farmers alone, we had farmers, we had even those in the sheep, cattle, and goat sector. So most of our farmers, we had to give some of palliatives. Just about 2 months ago, we have still rolled out the Agri Value Chains Empowerment Program, where over 2,743 producers, farmers, marketers, distributors were empowered free of charge by the Lagos State government. And this is even on an ongoing basis. It doesn't mean that once that empowerment has been done, it's one-off. It's something we do on a continuous basis. Our coconut farmers, it's empowering them by giving them seedlings and seed nuts, and so many other interventions that we roll out from time to time.
Okay, thank you very much, man. I think at this point we'll let you go. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
We wanted to, I was told that our other guest was timed out on Zoom, so hopefully we'll try to bring him back up.
Ouch.
He's back? Okay. African Farmer, thanks for joining us again. So you've heard part of the conversation we've had with Lagos State government. In your view, looking at this in a bigger picture, do you think it's even viable for states like Lagos to go into farming? Because people are saying, why don't we just have this partnership? Many thought that the Lake Rice partnership was a good partnership. In your view, should Lakes partner with states who have the capabilities to do this, or should all states begin to farm within?
Okay, well, first thing first, I will give this to Lagos State on the assumption of office of Dr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. They brought the stakeholders together, His Royal Highness, the Oba of Oniru, and the current commissioner. We all spoke, and they are listening, really. So, but Lagos has comparative advantage of vegetables and co, but most importantly, Lagos is now open to collaboration, which is the good one. So, May, we brought all the commissioners in the Southwest together to say, what are your opportunities? So there's collaboration now from Ogun, Oyo, and Co. with Lagos to supply the rice, especially to feed the mortar. So we're seeing the move in the right direction, but most importantly, what we miss the most is we are finding experts in the Office of Commissioners of Agriculture. The Commissioner of Agriculture in Lagos State is a supply chain expert in marketing. Ogun State has an expert and practical person in agri. Ekiti just appointed an expert in livestock. So, you know, not expert practitioners. So we're getting it right. I believe by the end of this year, we'll be better than how we came in. But we need regional cooperation, which is South-South, Southwest. We need regional cooperation because climate change is changing the dynamics and the fortune. So except there's a regional cooperation where they say, okay, at this period in time, you will have, we will not have. Say, for instance, Oyo State and Ogun State have like 3 different climate conditions.
Right.
So they can produce what is produced in the north.
Okay, let me throw in a few questions for you. Yes, go ahead.
So, sir, let's quickly talk about, preservation. What we are dealing with now could have been overcome if we had proper preservation and, warehousing of some of our farm products. So, and less waste. So, what exactly would you, maybe based on experience, suggest to farmers or government to invest in when it comes to preservation if we had...
Now, yes. So, we need to look at intermediate technology. And that is why I would ask government and CBN to compel Bank of Industry. They have some funding, they have some intervention funding to fund cottage sectors as not as normal business, because right now we need people who will just change like cassava, not to gari, fufu and co or starch, to take it beyond that starch so that people, beyond the raw form, so that people can take it to the next level. So in terms of like peppers and co, February, March, that's January, February, March, that's when you have the cheapest tomato, pepper, and co. But I can tell you in Ghana and West Africa is wasting. So it's not all the time that we really need to add that value. We only need to understand the market, which is information, and get things done. But we need those small cottage sectors which develop Malaysia and China to bring those equipments in, and Bank of Industry has that mandate, but is not functioning in that mandate as regards bringing up the cottage.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up on this. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning. We appreciate all your comments this morning. We'll be speaking with the farmer, agricultural information broker, coach, and consultant, Africanfarmer Mogaji. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll talk about a whole different topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, a whole nother topic. Road traffic congestion is a global phenomenon that has tormented us, especially those of us living in Lagos.
Yes. So.
Joining us to address diverse questions on our roads, understand offenses, penalties, and more is the new sector commander, Federal Road Safety Corps, Lagos, Mr. Olusegun Ogungbemide. Welcome to the show, sir. Sir, are you there? Can you hear me?
Are you sure he's not on mute?
Hello, sir.
You can't even hear us.
You can't hear us.
Okay, so we're having some connection issues with him. Right, so one of the, you would like to start?
No, it's just, every Lagosian understands this.
Yeah.
This is
Aside from the traffic, even me, I'm even more concerned about getting a license in Lagos State, because people have always, we've been told here, I think it was Ignatius that told us that you need to go to VIO, not so much, that FRC was just supporting.
It was the VIO
that was telling us, yes, that drivers like, but still till now, people are still actually going to the FRC. Sir, are you there? Okay, we're still having some connection issues. But in your view?
Have you covered some agencies when we covered, so the VIO were saying that this is totally their own purview, it's not the Federal Road Safety. And because of the test that you would do, there's the eye test that you would do that is organized by them. I kind of want to believe, it should be them. Because there's now this long, instead of going to Sokoto, you are going to Sokoto. there's this long bottleneck that we'll do. When you go to the Federal Road Safety, you then have to take that test, and then your driving school and all that, whether the VIO will still approve, and your car, your roadworthiness, and all of that. So I think we should just get back and clarify those conflicts.
Another issue we're having is the fact that there's a lot of road construction going on, and the detours are not usually clear. People go and pass one way. We don't know if we have enough men on the road. I have not traveled recently, but you travel a lot, so you can better tell us how the roads are, especially interstate.
I even have a problem with sometimes how they handle what they perceive as traffic offenders. So let's take, for instance, you were heading out early in the morning and you didn't notice that one of your headlights isn't working. You didn't notice, and then they stop you and they want to start, fining you for committing that offense without giving exceptions that, okay, this is just like me, not a warning. So should they do more of educating people as against, taking you and ticketing you and all of that? Should they show that human face?
The likelihood is very
sometimes.
slim.
No.
You can leave the house. You can come back in the evening.
When I was coming from my area, I leave the house by 5 a.m. Yeah. So it's possible that I didn't know that night that it had gone off. Exactly. And you meet me on the road early in the morning and you want to arrest me for,
to extort
me, basically. So I think they should sometimes study the situation, see the person you are even talking to, and try it.
All right, so we're told he's back. We've been trying to have connect. Good morning, sir. Are you there? Hello, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Is it raining?
Good to have you.
Good morning, madam.
I guess we had some connection issues earlier. Okay, so we wanted to first congratulate. We've not had a meeting with you first, so it's our first time meeting you properly. We've always had Ignatius for a long time, but it's good to have you on now, so we'll be disturbing you a lot on our roads.
It's a pleasure. That's why I'm here.
Good. Now, tell us, there's a lot of road construction ongoing, quite a lot of detours. People are complaining of the fact that traffic is still rampant, especially on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. What is FRSC doing to decongest these roads?
Thank you very much. It's just a matter of saying we cannot have our cake and have it at the same time. For us to have good road, there are some measures of inconveniences that will always come with it. And I want to commend the federal government and the states for the efforts they are putting in place as regards the series of constructions that is going on. But having said that, I want you to appreciate the fact that we have virtually all our men deployed to all these roads you have mentioned. If you look at the metropolis and the corridor, our men are always stationed. At the point where there are gridlocks, you see them trying to ease the gridlocks. And that's the best we can give for this moment. Thank you.
So, sir, when the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway construction expansion project started, your Zone 2 commander was here. He predicted a certain time limit within which completion would be seen. But if you still travel from if you still travel to Ibadan, you will see that there's a larger part of it not yet done or not completed. What exactly are the issues? What is stalling that completion?
That question is a function of what the ministry that is handling that project will be able to answer. The mandate of Federal Road Safety Corps, irrespective of how long it takes for the road to get ready, is for us to make sure that the traffic is put in order. And that is what we have been doing. We have been keeping that mandate. When there are obstructions, we are very prompt in removing them. Where there are crashes, we are very prompt in clearing the crashes off the road so that we can have a free thoroughfare for motoring public. Right. But the truth of the matter is, anytime we have little gridlocks, because of the volume of traffic flying that road, we have measures of build-up that take some time for us to actually ease up. And this is the one we want the Lagosians and motoring public to really appreciate where we are coming from.
Right.
But promptly, we are always there to attend to situation.
Okay.
All right, sir. So I understand that Nigerians generally are not very easy to handle. And sometimes some of these motorists are very stubborn. So they know that they are going one way. They know that they are not using their seatbelts and all of that. But is there a way, instead of trying to stop them in the middle of the road and causing sort of traffic, is there anything that we can start doing to ensure that they still get the penalty, but not on the road? is there any way you can, is it to take the picture of their license plate or something so that you don't have disruptions on the road? We still have a lot of roads that are being fixed at the moment to ease traffic.
Yeah, thank you very much. It depends on the categories of vehicles we are talking about, and it depends on the nature of offense being committed. If, like in the recent time, we have raised our enforcement on unlatched or untwisted vehicles. And when we come across a truck that is carrying a container and it's not locked, we cannot afford to wait until it gets to its destination before we get such vehicle stopped. A situation like that, naturally, we are going to create some measures of inconvenience that will lead to gridlock for us to get such vehicle off the road. But if you're talking of smaller cars that we know that we can easily get the number and get the person apprehended later, we let go. And that has been the way we've been operating within Lagos. But you know, most time when we feel impatient about the exercise that is being put in place by enforcement agencies, those are the period where we have these issues coming up.
Right.
But like I said, when we want a road to be safe, there are other measures of sacrifice that goes with it.
Okay.
If we say we want to up our enforcement, naturally we create some measures of inconvenience for us to get all those recalcitrant offenders apprehended.
All right, let me get a few more questions for you.
Yeah, so lighter note, I saw a joke online about how we check cars for roadworthiness, but we don't check the road if it is worthy of being driven.
Cars.
Yes, if the cars deserve to be riding on that kind of road, but we check on the cars all the time. But I know that that's not within your constituency. Lagos State traffic has extended down to Mowe or further, all the way to Redemption Camp. Most of the time, if you're traveling in and out of Lagos, we know that we're entering the Lagos traffic. Before, it was from Bega that you enter Lagos traffic, but now Lagos traffic starts from Redemption Camp area. So we need the force that covers Lagos to be more active within that area. What can be done to checkmate yellow buses and how much traffic they cause on roads, express roads particularly? What is your agency doing?
We know, like I said when I took over the mantle of Lagos, that I'm happy or I'm lucky, I'm favored to work in a state that has a very strong state agency, state traffic agency. That's in the name of LASMA. And the best we do that we have been doing since I came is to operate a synergy where we work in collaboration with BIS and LASMA to make sure that these yellow buses that have been creating problems on our roads are east of the road. While the LASMA is doing more of the traffic management, that's the traffic control, we get them off the road through enforcement in line with BIS. And these are the things we have been doing. You also know or appreciate the fact that the traffic volume in Lagos also play a major role, which we cannot wish away. A simple obstruction will give us a very long backlash. And that is the patience we are actually requesting from Lagosians. We are up and doing. We are on the road 24 hours to make sure that we intervene at the necessary time.
All right,
so what we do as federal agency is to intervene at the appropriate time. And we have been doing that.
Okay, let's talk about corruption for a moment, because in every sector in our country, we've seen corruption in different ways. So there's an alleged extortion of your men, of motorists, the fact that people are having to pay exorbitant prices just to get a driver's license. Could you shed light on exactly what the cost is to acquire a driver's license, number one? Number two, what are you doing to curb extortion of your men of money from Nigerian citizens?
When you talk of issue of corruption, I will say it's a reflection of the society. I will not stand here to tell you that FRSC does not get, or our operatives don't get involved in compromise one way or the other. But what I can guarantee you, that I can say authoritatively, is that the system, the establishments, are zero tolerance for corruption in any ramification. And you'll remember of recent, you saw on the media where some ICPC and DSS operatives in conjunction with our men raided some of our establishments and got some people arrested. Those are the things that are put in place to checkmate our operatives. Even on the road, we have our intelligence reports that get them arrested on a daily basis. As I'm talking to you now, there are so many investigations and trials that is going on in our office, trying to investigate and sanction all the people that have been arrested. So it's, you know, it's give and take.
Right.
If I demand for money and you don't give me, I won't force it out of your pocket. I'll rather tell you, if you need to book me, please give me my ticket and let me pay the necessary fines I need to pay. But also Nigerians, because they are always impatient, they're in a hurry, they want to settle and have their way. That's the reason why we create a permissive
society.
There we go with the range. Okay, we're having trouble getting. Sir, are you there?
Really, really sad. Really, really sad. We're having major challenges.
The rains are here, so
we've been waiting for the rain for this. I wanted to say that this corruption, before this FRSC were known not to collect bribe. Like they had, we could say openly, all of that.
They had a reputation for integrity.
They wouldn't collect bribe, but they would give you the receipts and say go and pay. But now it has entered them. I'm sure we can go back to that set.
Nima, you're going to say something.
The question on Twitter, yes, Ogumola was asking that, you know, if I come into the country for just 2 weeks with an international driving license, can I drive with it, or is there some form of approval I need? I think we should, I wanted him to address
this. On that.
Yes,
we need to get clarity.
Sector Commander, are you there? It's frozen, so we have to call his phone so that we can, at least for the next 2 minutes, we can
get the answer to that question. Because I drive with my Nigerian license abroad
in the US.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll probably bring him back because, hey, he's in Lagos now. We'll be calling him up as often as possible. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. Do you have any other tweets you want to take before we run off?
That's all I saw.
People were asking concerning our Greek. One man was saying that there was swine flu and like 500 pigs died in January-February, period, and that what could the government have done? Many people are still talking concerning the agricultural challenges.
So let me joke with this one. The goal of the chicken is to grow up and end up in our belly. A true farm animal is raised to be eaten. And, you know, talking about me eating my pets. So I don't have a pet. It's my children that have pets. me, I'm helping them to rear something that I eat.
But I think one thing I learned from the agricultural conversation is that there's a whole lot of investment that is required. And there's opportunities for many Nigerians to invest. I think what we need to do is read up on what's going on, see where you can play your part. Because he talked about the health of the land, which is something that if something happens to your land, you don't even know where to go to. You're only talking to. So we need to actually begin to think of what we can do to support the farming value chain.
They used to have that method of, you know, preserving the nutrients in land. So they will farm on one and the next period they move to the next.
He's talking about soil test. So you're supposed to do the soil test of your land. Even like we have 1,000 acre, we're checking like 20 acre to check the soil test.
There's even something he said that, you know, that's very important. Our old methods, our traditional ways of preservation should have been researched on and, you know, increased, instead of just bringing everything foreign here and then those things don't work.
And also, don't sit down, look in your farm, waiting for them to come. Also, because one thing I read a book that was saying that you, as the owner of the business, you have to invest in all the entire value chain. Toleram did it for Indomie noodles. From the start all the way to distribution, they got trucks across the country. So they're actually even losing some of their value.
So today I was talking to Justina upstairs. I said, go to your, she said, my grandmother has cashews on my farm. And I said, and you're in Lagos as a makeup artist hustling. Go to your village. You never know the opportunities until you go there. Right. Go home, find out what information is available rather than being hungry in Lagos. Do something.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all. We're still going to do more shows on agriculture as we're going on. Now that we have farmers in the
and consumers too.
Consumers, those of us that consume. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.